Welcome back. Time to join our Abuja studios for more news. Here is Maokwe Ogun. Hi, Maokwe.
Thank you, Ladi. Hello. Well, ahead of the 2017 World Population Day, the National Population Commission, the NPC, has decried the lack of access to information and services on family planning in Nigeria. The chairman of the commission expressed serious concern over how the lack of such information threatens the achievement of sustainable development goals. According to him, government investment in physical infrastructure would amount to nothing if the current population growth is allowed to continue without some form of control.
Investments in family planning can contribute to a demographic dividend, which raises a country's economic growth potential. When the size of the dependent population, that is children and the elderly, shrinks in relation to the size of those in the working age bracket, it creates an economic advantage, especially in countries with lower levels of overall national earnings. Family planning is included in the Sustainable Development Goal targets, such as Target 3.7, to achieve universal access to sexual and reproductive services. And achieving many of the goals depends in part on the ability of women to exercise their reproductive rights. Universal access to sexual and reproductive health services, including family planning, is key to achieving these rights. Indeed, all the massive investments in building social and physical infrastructure, healthcare, education, and other critical sectors of our national life will not yield the maximum benefits expected unless our women and girl child have an unfettered access to sexual and reproductive information and services. The present situation in which access to family planning information and services is severely limited is therefore unacceptable and definitely counterproductive to a march towards sustainable development.
The first tuberculosis center in Africa is now up and running in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. The Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewale, lamented the high prevalence of tuberculosis in Nigeria, calling for the support of relevant agencies to undertake more preventive enlightenment measures.
To really put the tag on TB, that this is a disease that is preventable. We can diagnose it easily, and it is treatable and curable. And Nigeria is one of the top 6 countries in the world with high TB burden. We are number 1 in Africa. In fact, we are number 4. I think second to Indonesia, to China, and to Russia. So we are there in a black position. And so we must work together to change the narrative about TB. So working together will enable us to make the correct diagnosis. About 80% of our TB cases remain undiagnosed. We are only able to diagnose roughly 1 out of 6. In other words, there are 5 out of 6 cases out there undiagnosed, and they represent threats to our own health.
The International Atomic Energy Agency has pledged to support for the Nigerian Nuclear Regulatory Authority towards ensuring nuclear security and safety in Nigeria. At a review meeting, the coordinator of the Integrated Regulatory Review Service Mission, Mr. Theodorus Hailu, says there is a need for people to be protected from the harmful effects of nuclear radiation.
It's a gathering of energy experts as the Integrated Regulatory Review Service Mission of the International Atomic Energy Agency peer reviews Nigeria. The coordinator of the review mission explains the essence of the meeting as he pledges the agency's support for the Nigerian Nuclear Regulatory Authority.
If there are any gaps or any overlaps or anything that needs to be improved in accordance to the requirements and suggestions of the IAEA safety standards, we will provide recommendations and suggestions towards that objective.
The Senior Special Technical Assistant to the Minister of State for Petroleum speaks on behalf of the federal government to ensure nuclear safety and security.
We will continue to live up to our responsibility of ensuring nuclear security whilst collaborating closely with international agencies such as the IAEA for the provision of practical assistance, expert advice, radioactive equipment and training.
On his part, the Director General of the Nigerian Nuclear Regulatory Agency pledges to forward the outcome of the review meeting to the federal government for implementation.
The assessment will not only review the technical and regulatory process and procedures, it will also look at our national, governmental, legal and policy infrastructure for safety.
Although Nigeria is said to have signed and ratified several international treaties and conventions in the area of nuclear non-proliferation, safety and security, the Integrated Regulatory Review Service mission to Nigeria is aimed at ensuring the effective implementation of such treaties through a peer review mechanism.
Well, that's all from Abuja. It's back to you, Ladi.
Thank you very much, Markwe. Education development in Ogun State is assuming a new dimension as the National Universities Commission has granted a certificate of operation to the state government for the upgrade of the state-owned Moshood Abiola Polytechnic, Abeokuta, into the Moshood Abiola University of Science and Technology, Abeokuta. At the presentation ceremony in Abuja, Governor Amosun expressed delight at the progress, promising to apply himself and exercise the political will to make the institution of global best standards. In a related development, an existing state-owned university in the state, Olabisi Onabanjo University, has again been rated the best state university in Nigeria for its sterling academic performances. As part of its rebranding process, Arik Air has launched a new customer service unit called Arik Ambassadors in the General Aviation Terminal in Lagos. The airline says this unit has been designed to look after passengers' needs with a mandate to resolve issues without wasting time. During the launch, 5 business class passengers won return tickets to destinations of their choice.
Airlines are tasked with the great responsibility of safely transporting travelers from one point to the other, but in making the passenger experience pleasurable, carriers must place emphasis on customer service. That's just what Nigeria's flag carrier says it's up to as it introduces the Arik Air Ambassadors within the General Aviation Terminal of the Muritala Mohammed Airport, Lagos.
We're bringing this ambassador just to carve out departments that will look after our customers, to show the friendliness of the airlines to our customers, and also make sure our customers they don't miss their flights. If they have any issues, we resolve it for them as quickly as we can.
Anytime there's an issue or anything that the passenger would like to know, they can approach the ambassadors, and the ambassadors are the mission or the vision is to solve the passenger's problem before they even leave the airport, or else on a very timely basis.
For its teaming guests, the ambassadors can easily be identified in their smart outfits and are expected to take decisions on the spot.
You might say this is more like a concierge unit. So once the passenger walks into the terminal, that as you can see, our ambassadors are very distinguished and identifiable. So if there is any questions or anything that we can ask outside the square, that we will be able to assist them, they're always there to help.
Part of the ceremony also had a raffle draw with 5 business class passengers winning a return ticket to a local destination of their choice. With the launch of the Arik Air Ambassadors, the carrier says this is part of its rebranding strategy to serve customers better.
Time for other business news, and here's Anne Nwawodo.
You first. First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Ladi. And we begin business news tonight with Nigeria's central bank releasing its manufacturing and non-manufacturing purchasing managers index report for the month of June. But the core manufacturing activity was reported higher at 52.9 reading, posting a third consecutive month increase, and the non-manufacturing index was better at 54.2 reading. The CBN report says the 12 of 16 sectors surveyed showed expansion. Investment firm FB & Quest, in a similar report for June, shows that PMI jumped to 55.9 from 54.0 in the month of May due to forex availability, naira depreciation, appreciation, and improvement in power supply. In the meantime, the Central Bank of Nigeria sold $100 million at an auction today. That's its latest in a series of interventions in the forex market. In a notice to commercial lenders, the financial regulator said the auction will be for spot and forward transactions to be settled within 60 days. CBN's Deputy Governor, Mr. Joseph Nana, says the relative stability in the forex market is as a result of CBN's forex policy and increase in the country's oil output. Nigeria's stock market begins the new month, the quarter and second half of 2017, with sell-offs across major counters, except of course for the insurance sector. Chimezie Obiwago tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. The first trading session in the new month and the third quarter of the year wasn't too pleasant, as the all-share index nosedived into the red to close the day down 1.05%. All sectors except the insurance sector closed in the red, with the oil and gas sector shedding the most weight. But highest stock loser in terms of percentage is May & Baker, down by 9.54%, while Honeywell Flowers gained the most, up 9.66%. The market also recorded one of the lowest transaction volume and value since the commencement of the bull market era. Transaction value came in at a comparatively paltry 1.5 billion naira, with a volume of 162.3 million shares. Market analysts adduce this lukewarm disposition, especially by foreign portfolio investors, to the half-year earnings season expectation. And traders say, being the first trading day of a new quarter, this is expected because investors are still on the drawing board. Expectations are that this trend may persist in Tuesday's trading session, but the drop won't be this much. And that was the Stock Market Report. I'm Chimezie Obiwago.
Thanks a lot, Chimezie. U.S. markets opened higher earlier today ahead of the Independence Day holiday. With details from VOA, with the VOA Channel's TV business correspondent, here's Jill Malandrino from the Nasdaq market site in New York.
U.S. stocks opened sharply higher to kick off the month of July, third quarter and second half of 2017. This year is just blowing by. As a reminder, U.S. markets will be closed at 1 p.m. Eastern and on all day on Tuesday in observance of Independence Day, America's birthday. Let's quickly review the first half of 2017. The Dow Jones Industrial Average and S&P 500 climbed on Friday to finish out June higher, while NASDAQ ended the month in red. That said, all three major indexes logged strong gains in the first half of the year, with the Dow rising 8%, the S&P 500 up 8.2%, and the NASDAQ comp rallying 14%, its best six-month performance since 2009, posting 38 all-time closing highs during that stretch, despite pacing a roughly down 2% weekly drop and about a 1% slide in June, which marks its first monthly loss since a 2.3% fall last October. Now let's turn to the trading week ahead. There are several potential market-moving catalysts on deck, including manufacturing data and auto sales that are coming out today, then private payrolls and non-farm payrolls data on Friday of this week. The key here is not necessarily the number of jobs created, but wage growth. Beyond this week, earnings season kicks off on July 10th, which gives traders data to focus on other than macro. And of course, Washington, D.C. and the Trump administration will continue to dominate the headlines. From the Nasdaq market site in New York, I'm Jill Malandrino. This is VOA Channel's Business News.
As for most of the world's major stock markets, they ended today in the green as market digested China's PMI data and the Bank of Japan's quarterly Tankan survey. Let's check out the numbers. That's Business News Tonight. Thanks a lot for watching. It's back to you, Ladi.
You first. First Bank.
Thanks, Anne. Still ahead on the news at 10, Wimbledon champion Andy Murray begins title defense with a one-sided victory. That's coming up in sports news. Please stay with us.